Welcome to Planetary Gig Talk, Tales of Music and Magic. I'm your host, Jefferson Glassy, Chief Spiritual Dude of the Planetary Gig Society, whose mission is creating unity through music. But as I really like to say, making connections through music with the intention of bringing peace. And today, the fates have somehow interceded and put us together with a fabulous singer. I'm still in Studio One of the worldwide headquarters of the Planetary Gig Society outside Washington, D.C. Been here a long time. But our guest is, well, I'm not even 100% sure, but I saw she had a great concert online the other day, and there were 1,500 people posting all kinds of hearts and rainbows and things, and it was so exciting. So thank you very much, Fia, for joining us today.
Thank you, Jefferson. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, the fates really did kind of intercede. All of a sudden, I was watching your concert the other day, and I've been, listening to your music, and you're so inspiring, and it's such beautiful music, and your fans and people who listen are just, they really seem to dig it.
Thank you. Yeah, I have amazing, supportive listeners who are really enthusiastic when I put things online, and especially online concerts.
Yeah, it's really fabulous. So, I always love to start by asking, how did music come into your life? I mean, I know from what I've read that you started fairly young, but were your parents musical? Was there music in the house? Was it something you just picked up? How old were you? What instrument grabbed you? How did you get started on this fabulous magic carpet ride?
I was about 10 years old when my parents took me to the Christmas concert of the local culture school. So this was the place where kids and youth could come and learn to dance, to sing, to act, and all different things. And I remember sitting there in the dark saloon and the lit up stage, and out walks this beautiful woodwind ensemble. And they start playing an amazing piece together, and I hear this instrument that I at the time had no clue what it was. It has this very high-pitched, very beautiful, romantic sound. And I asked my parents, what is that? And they say, it's an oboe. And I got so enchanted that I said, I want to learn. So at the age of 10, I started taking oboe lessons. So my entry into the world of music was through the classical door. And it was a really great way to start, because I got the basics really solid. So I learned how to read music, and early on learned how to play together with others, and side by side together with the classical. At home, I also had a keyboard, so I would sit and make my own songs. And it started around the same time when I was 10.
Wow. That's very cool. I have to say, I don't think I know anyone else who started with an oboe, but, it sounds like a pretty cool way to get started. So what were the songs about what were you sort of writing about? What kind of music did you start with? What were they about? And then how did that transform, or how did things grow and evolve with your music?
Yeah, so beginning, it was really simple. I was writing in both Swedish and English as best as I could. Here in Sweden, we learn English from a very young age. So it was natural for me to try and express myself in the second language, which I heard so many songs being sung in. And, the first tune that I wrote was called To Be or Not to Be, which it paints a pretty picture of what kind of kid I was.
Yeah,
I was
pretty deep.
Deep and introspective, and I was really into the the arts and the mystic and the magic. And then as I've grown up and got into the teenage years, you know, it really reflected everything that you move through when you enter into high school and such things. And it still does to this day. I'm 26 now. And when I write about my life and about the people that I meet, the stories that they tell, and my own. So that's how it works for me.
Wow, it's very cool. I should have asked, but I am curious. So where did you grow? Sweden, you grew up? Is that where you are now? I didn't even know that. I know what time zone you're in, so we could set this up. I wasn't sure.
Yes, I'm in Sweden, and that's where I grew up.
Oh, yeah. I was able to visit, it must not have been last year. The year before, my wife had, there was an event up there, and it's so beautiful and peaceful and everything. So then, you know, as you were playing more and more, I guess, did you play in bands and things like that, or did you start doing more solo? I know you've gravitated to the solo work, but how did that sort of transpire? And then how did you come to, you know, do an album and end up crowdsourcing it and getting it out there?
Yeah, all throughout school, I was in different bands, and mostly cover bands. I remember the last one I was in, it had kind of this folk rock jazz vibe. We were very like crossing genres and having a lot of fun. It was me, guitar, bass, violin, keys, and drums, and an occasional, I lost the name, but it was a very eclectic gathering of people, and the music that we made together was super fun. So I love playing with others, and it is not until these last years that I've been on this solo track. And the reason for that is in 2015, the autumn in 2015, I came home after a summer where I had been volunteer working at this beautiful spiritual community for 3 months. And I noticed how the flavor of the music I was writing was shifting. I was now writing more about my spiritual experiences and the personal development that I was going through. And I started to share them wherever I went with my guitar. And I realized that they resonated with people. They touched something. And I was having a lot more fun when I was sharing this kind of music that felt really true in my heart, and not subscribing to what maybe schools or peers, their thoughts on what kind of music I should be making. So when I was true, and when I was sharing from that place, this ripple effect started, and I slowly started to build a following and platforms online. And in 2016, I put it out there saying, hey, I have all these songs. Some of you have heard them. I would love to put them on a record. Is there anyone who wants to support me? And then I put up the crowdfunding, and I got enough to record my first album, Made of Stars.
That's great. I've heard some of those songs. They're so beautiful. So as you were saying, you started playing songs that were sort of from yourself, and it resonated. Did you have any intention to touch people, or really just to play what you were sort of feeling?
In the beginning, I was 99% just playing what I was feeling. And the more that I've dived into this way of writing songs, I get access to not only my experience, but others' experiences. When I'm out in the world and interacting with people, that colors the songs that I make. And I believe that we are each and every one so very unique, but we are very, very similar, and we go through similar themes in life. So yeah.
And what is it you think that is resonating with people? What do you? I mean, just for anybody who may be listening, what do you write about? What are the things that you that kind of come through you and you put into your music, and how does that touch the listeners? What are they hearing? What do they want to hear?
Yeah, I call my music transformational music because the songs that I write invites the listener to ask the bigger questions. It inspires to do self-reflection, and also they work as reminders to of who we are, like deep underneath all of the layers and all of the personas and personalities. Like, these are songs calling us back to our most inner core, and at the same time connecting us to source, universe, God, goddess.
Wow. And so, one of the things I've just come to know or really realize or understand, and I think a lot of people do, maybe everybody does, is just this power of music, these, healing vibrations almost that come out. How would you just describe that? Can you describe that? What is that power of music? How does it get all these people to get on their computers and listen to you sing songs and then have feelings about it? Do you have thoughts about that?
I think it is comes down to the very, very, very human part, which is we like to see ourselves reflected, and the role of the artist and the musician, as I experience it, is that I put words to the emotions that might be hard to put words to, and making the abstract into something that you can interact with, and in that way have a deeper understanding of yourself. I think we've all experienced music that comes at the exact right time, the exact right words, or the melody that just hits you right in the right spot, and whatever it awakens in you, maybe it's a waterfall of tears or ecstatic joy, or just feeling connected to all of life. So that, I think, is the power of music, and I think that's why people choose to tune in.
Wow, yeah, that connection with all of life, it's so important. We do want to feel part of something, and we're not just out here on an island, by ourselves and nobody's paying any attention. Are there, do you have a song or two that you've done that you might share, sort of how it came about and what it's about, that maybe some of your listeners would know, but I don't know. I mean, when you write a bunch of songs, there's usually a story, I think, behind them. I know the one had kind of got in my head was I leave it all on the table. I'm just going to do the best I can, sort of. But any songs that you might want to talk about in that way, how they came to you and what they meant?
Yeah, so I can touch upon the one that you mentioned. That is Legacy of Light. And I wrote that when I was feeling very, very devoted and excited about the artistic path that I'm on. When I realized that this is my way of making contribution, and I'm gonna just show up as greatly as I can, and trust that when I do that, I will leave a positive mark on this world. And in the big sense, that which will be my legacy when I'm off this earth.
Well, it's a great aspiration, obviously. I want to do the same thing. How do you contribute, make life a little better, make things a little more peaceful, colors even a little brighter? Is there an aspect now, I know this, it can sound funny to say that, well, I like to try to inspire people, but I've become a bit comfortable with that. Like, hey, I'm this old guy who started a podcast. I'd like to inspire other people to do podcasts. It's not that I'm so great. Hey, you all could do better than I could. But, I think a lot of your listeners do feel inspired and maybe more reconnected because of the music and that sort of thing. So could you talk about inspiration a little bit? And is that something you now think about?
Yeah. I would say that it's a daily topic in the stream of my being, as it is one of the tools that I work with when I make music. And I think for me, inspiration is found everywhere. When I least expect it. Like, it can be, I walk past someone on the street and the way that their eyes look, or a conversation I'm having with a dear friend that just sparks something in me. And I think inspiration is that divine spark. And that when we dare to follow that one, when we dare to dive into our inspired self and be in that inspired state, then it opens up the possibility for us to create so much magic that is unique from our soul. Yeah.
Magic is such a great way to say it. I for some reason, when I started this podcast, I said it, tales of music and magic, and not everybody talks about magic, but it kind of is magic, isn't it? What happens. And I know also you encourage people to really listen to themselves, I guess. Be better selves, or what does that entail? How would you say it? I'm not saying it very well.
I feel like we live in a world where there's a lot of noise and a lot of external circumstances and external factors that are desiring to dictate on how we are to be and how we are to live our lives, and this comes in from an early age, and it conditions us. So what I'm passionate about is to invite people back home to themselves and to say, hey, who are you? What do you want? What is your truth? Like, let me see you, let me feel you. Yeah, I'm all about that.
Wow, it's so interesting. So I'll go off on a little bit of a tangent here. One of the reasons I kind of got involved in this is after I read Victor Wooten's book, The Music Lesson, and it was very transformational. And I've come to know Victor. I've interviewed him. We've done some programs together, et cetera. But he just did a new book, and it's called The Spirit of Music, and it's sort of a novel that's about music, and it's a little hard to describe. But at the very end, the way he ends the book is he says, okay, so now you've heard about me and us, and who are you? And that can be a pretty profound thing when you really, well, am I, a lawyer or a dishwasher, or am I a musician, or am I a beam of light, and what am I going to do with who I am? It's pretty important. You're really triggering some things with people, I think. Do you feel that from your listeners out there?
I do. Yeah, I hear that a lot, that when they listen, they feel more in touch with themselves, and they feel more connected to their own truth, which is the most beautiful thing I could ever hear someone say.
Yeah. And, another thought just came to me. And so I'll go ahead and ask it. I think a lot of the people who do listen to you, women, younger women, teenagers up to whatever, middle age or something, is kind of a core listening group. There's some darkness out there in some ways about some of these things, but I think the light certainly can be women, females, a more matriarchal society. That's sort of my own belief. And so how great is that to be able to, want to and be able to inspire people to find that truth, that power. I mean, women are very, very powerful.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's a treasure. I speak to many women daily. They message me on social media, and I get to hear about their victories and their heartaches and everything. But most of all, it's so beautiful that I see in my own life, I see women rising, and I see women softening as well into their own magic. I see women reconnecting back to the earth and what happens to a woman or just any human who is in touch with our planet and feels themselves as part of the planet as well, as part of nature. It activates a power and a way of approaching life that is very powerful. And I feel like that is a force that is rising and is catalyzing a lot of change.
I agree, and I hope so as well. So one of the questions I do like to ask, and you're talking about it, but how is it that we, more of us, all of us, some of us, can tap into music more, become more aware of music, spread more music? Are there things that we can do to use music to help make a better world beyond just what you're doing? But do you have other ideas about that?
Yeah, I think if everyone would reconnect back with their own voice, I think we would see some extraordinary things happen on this planet, like our authentic voice. And when I say that, not just talking, but I mean singing. What would happen if we all started singing again? I think it's a quote from somewhere, and I'm not going to say it right, but like the essence of it, and I think it's from some native tradition. I think it's a core from like all corners of the world that we people, we need to dance, we need to sing, we need to tell stories, and when we don't do this, we become sick.
Mm.
Yeah.
One could argue or say that there is some sickness, but I do think that we can come through this. This is the time, this crazy pandemic, been sort of a void that hopefully the good things will flow in. Do you have anything else that you'd like to mention that I might not have asked about? Or, it's so great to see what you're doing and connecting with so many people and the positive effects that's having. And I wish there was like 1,000 of you, but in a way there's 7 billion of us who all have that spark. And any other thoughts that you have?
Yeah, to just tie on to what you just said, we all have the ability to be light beings. We all have the ability to be change makers on big scale, on small scale, doesn't matter. It isn't choosing on how we treat ourselves and how we treat others. So we have a lot more power than many of us might think.
Yes. Yeah. I forget if it was Marianne Williamson or someone who said the thing that scares people the most is realizing how much power they have.
Yeah, exactly.
So, really appreciate your taking the time. It's been fabulous just getting to even know about you and hear your music and see what you're doing. And I said I went to that concert the other day, where I went on my computer, and to be able to talk with you about these things, it is very inspiring and profound. And maybe I'll get back there to Sweden someday. I visited before, but I'm sure you'll be traveling around. When you come to the States, be sure to look us up.
Yeah. Thank you so much for inviting me into your space. And yeah, just so happy to chat with you.
Yeah, thank you very much. So everybody, it's Fia, and she is very, you won't have a hard time finding her if you look. Facebook and Spotify and everywhere, and website. So check it out. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. Thank you, Fia. You've been listening to Planetary Gig Talk, Tales of Music and Magic. I'm your host, Jefferson Glassy, Chief Spiritual Dude of the Planetary Gig Society. We talk with musicians and others about the power of music and how we can use music to help create a better world. Please check out our website, www.planetarygigs.org, for information about some of the organizations promoting music and musicians, resources about the power of music, books, movies, articles, including new research on music and the brain. We welcome your support. The Planetary Gig Society is a Section 501c3 charitable organization, and you can donate on the website. You also can receive a free email signature block demonstrating your support for Planetary Gig Society. Please follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Planetary Gigs. And we want to thank fabulous musician and teacher Eric Weinberg of Little Eric Studios for the Planetary Gig Talk music titled Chill Kid, It's Saul. So please check out Planetary Gig Talk on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. Subscribe and hear all the upcoming episodes. Thanks very much.